Hello, and welcome to Dining with Death, where we discuss infamous cases of death and murder that have an element of food to them, and then I cook or sometimes sample the food from the case. Before we begin our story, please hit the like button if you like the video. Please subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me, and you can always join my Patreon. We have a very big goal there, and I'll talk about that at the end of the video. I'm Stacy Lee. Let's begin. Donna Doll was a 21-year-old student studying Russian at Northern Illinois University. She grew up in Brookfield, Illinois, and in the summer of 1970, she was living in DeKalb, Illinois, in a dorm-style apartment. She worked part-time at the Swen Parson Library on campus, and she was studying to become a teacher. Donna was a pretty blonde who had lots of friends and was well-liked by everyone who knew her. She was a very responsible young woman whose friends remember as having lots of chores as a kid. Too many chores. She was often tasked with watching her siblings, and she often cleaned the entire house from top to bottom. She could never go out and do much with her friends because she was always babysitting. She won a scholarship to Northern Illinois, and her life there was a lot more fun because she wasn't tied down with her younger siblings. We have a lot of this in Utah. People here have a lot of kids, and the older ones end up raising the younger ones, and I'm just going to bite my tongue. Donna had a boyfriend. His name was Charles Burke, and he was a math student. But then Donna went away and attended a foreign language program in Pennsylvania, and there she met another man that she was more interested in. Donna and Charles had always had some issues. Donna felt that Charles was too controlling and too possessive, and this other man was kind. Donna decided that she was going to break up with Charles to date this new man who had recently separated from his wife. He was not yet divorced. Donna's friends later reported that they were relieved when Donna broke up with Charles. They weren't fans of his because he was controlling and he was possessive. Charles, on the other hand, was not relieved. Charles was devastated, and he made that known. People who knew both Donna and Charles were well aware that Charles was very, very unhappy that Donna had dumped him. On Friday, October 2nd, 1970, Donna's close childhood friend, who was also named Donna, I'm going to refer to her today as Friend Donna because she has a last name that I cannot spell, let alone pronounce, so she'll be Friend Donna in our story today. Friend Donna went to Swen Parson Library to pick Donna up after she got finished with her shift there. The two Donnas planned to drag the boulevard and talk, maybe get something to eat, and just spend time together. But when Friend Donna got to the library, Donna was already gone. Friend Donna asked around and was told that Donna Doll had clocked out right at 10 p.m., her usual time to leave. So Friend Donna waited about 20 minutes to see if Donna would appear as they had planned, but when Donna never showed, Friend Donna went home. She assumed that Donna had simply forgotten about their plans and she would talk with her later on. Unfortunately, that is not what was going on. Donna Doll never made it home that night. Donna Doll never made it home at all. Because Donna had just begun dating this new man who lived in Pennsylvania, for 2 days, everyone assumed she had taken off for the weekend to see him. Remember, it was a Friday when she was supposed to meet Friend Donna. So no one felt there was any need to be concerned about Donna until Sunday night rolled around and she didn't arrive back at her dorm. Donna had school and work on Monday, and everyone knew she wouldn't miss either of those things, especially without telling anyone. At 11:30 p.m. on Sunday, October 4th, 1970, Donna Doll's parents reported her missing when they were alerted by Donna's roommates that no one had seen her all weekend and she still wasn't back at the dorm. Now, surprisingly, the police actually started to look for Donna immediately. This is the 1970s, and you guys are well aware that there were all kinds of different laws back then where, we're not going to get involved until they're gone for a week. We're not going to report a missing until they're gone for 48 hours. But for whatever reason, this time the police did get involved, and a search for Donna was undertaken. A few police officers went to Donna's dorm room, but they didn't find anything suspicious. They did find her suitcase and all of her personal belongings, and that was concerning. That meant that Donna had not gone to Pennsylvania for the weekend. Then, while in the dorm room, the police found Donna's most recent paycheck, and it had not been cashed. Their concern grew. Cops were still of the opinion that Donna had just left town for the weekend, but Donna's family was not in agreement. So as the police were looking through the dorm, the family and friends set up a search party and began looking for Donna immediately. They felt very strongly that something terrible had happened to Donna, and joining the search was Donna's ex-boyfriend, Charles. For days, Donna's friends and family searched for her, and with each passing day, they grew more and more anxious. Things were not looking good. Donna's family members began receiving strange phone calls. One caller called 6 or 7 times, and each time he said, "I know where your daughter is," which is just about as creepy as it gets. Evil, too. There are so many jerks in the world, people that just have to insert themselves, and people that get joy out of watching other people fail. Is that what Schadenfreude is? But it's such bad karma to do something nasty like that. It always comes back on you. Believe me, I know. I've done nasty things in my life, and it came back on me. But just think about how painful that must have been for Donna's family. They're missing their daughter, their sister, their friend, and then you've got this jerk calling and like prank calling and hanging up on him. It's just really cruel. The police became more involved, but they weren't having any luck either. And then, a week after Donna was reported missing, on October 11th, some teenagers were driving to a party on Nelson Road about a mile west of Northern Illinois campus. Jim Ball was driving the car, and he had 2 girls with him. A week before this party, the teenagers had hidden some beer in the tall grass by a cornfield, kind of stockpiling it for this party that they knew was going to happen on the 11th. The teenagers stopped the car, and Jim walked into the tall grass where he'd hidden the beer, and as he did, he saw the body of a woman lying in the grass. The kids left the area and called the police, who arrived at the location following the directions given to them by the teenagers. Immediately, cops knew the dead woman was Donna Doll. Now, for some reason, they called Charles, Donna's ex-boyfriend, to identify the body. That seems a very strange move to me, considering Donna had a close childhood friend nearby and her parents were also in the area. But this is what happened. Donna was found fully clothed, but her shoes were missing. Her purse was gone as well. Neither her shoes nor her purse were ever found. One other thing that was strange, when she was found, Donna was wearing a light jacket. When she was last seen leaving work, she had been wearing a trench coat. An autopsy was performed, and this is where it gets very, very strange. The coroner found that Donna Doll had been kept alive for at least 48 hours. Whoever took her hadn't killed her right away. The manner of death was suffocation. Donna had been suffocated by either a pillow or a plastic bag. Ugh, that's a terrible way to die. It does not happen quickly like you see in the movies. The coroner thought probably a plastic bag because there were no fibers or matter in Donna's airway, and pillowcases usually leave fibers. The autopsy also found chemicals in Donna's body that they could not identify. The autopsy report actually describes them as, quote, mystery substances. So that is also very, very strange. There was no sign of violence besides the suffocation, nothing that would indicate Donna had been bound or that she had been in a fight. But the most alarming and unusual finding at autopsy was that just before her death, Donna Doll had eaten 5 to 6 pounds of potatoes. Her stomach was distended and she was completely full of potatoes. Think about how big a 5-pound sack of potatoes is. It's like this tall and this wide, and I'm gonna guess, see, my restaurant knowledge comes in, I'm gonna guess 11 or 12 potatoes. That is a lot of potatoes. I couldn't eat 2 potatoes. 11 or 12 potatoes? Word spreads throughout the area, first that Donna Doll has been found murdered, and then that she may have been force-fed 5 or 6 pounds of potatoes before her death. Sheriff Jim Laban said the community was in an uproar. This was a very rural area that didn't have murders, and people were frightened. Police immediately zoned in on Donna's ex-boyfriend, the jealous Charles Burke. Charles had already graduated from Northern Illinois, and he lived alone in an apartment at Suburban Estates, which was very close to where Donna's body was found. Police realized that when Donna's friends and family were searching for Donna, they got really, really close to where she was found. But then you have to take into account that she was held for 48 hours after her disappearance. She probably wasn't there when they passed that area, but she could have been. Police knew that Donna had dumped Charles, and they knew he was very unhappy about it, so obviously that could be a motive. But Donna's family didn't believe Charles had anything to do with the murder. They actually asked Charles to be a pallbearer at Donna's funeral, and they even put a pair of earrings on Donna that Charles had given her. Donna's family may not have believed Charles was the killer, but many others did. And then Charles tries to take himself out by cutting his wrists. To some, this was a sign of guilt. To others, it was a sign of grief. The pressure was on Charles, and he hired an attorney. The attorney told the press that Charles was simply distraught over the death of Donna, and that he was, in fact, working closely with the police. The investigation continued for months, and then years, and then it went stone cold. And now, 53 years later, we are still asking, who killed Donna Doll? There is a more recent suspect, and it is not Charles Burke. Many online sleuths believe that a man who is now a senior consultant at a large Chicago bank is the killer. Now, I did find this man's name in some reports. I am not going to share it because I don't want to get sued and because no charges have been brought against him. I'm just good at snooping, but his name is not public, and so I'm not going to share it. Amateur detectives have contacted this man and asked if he wants to tell his side of the story. Whenever he is contacted, he says no comment and hangs up the phone. If more information comes out on this, of course I will bring you an update. But for now, we simply do not know who killed Donna Doll, and we definitely do not know why her stomach was packed with pounds of potatoes when she was found. This is such a strange story, and every time I hear it, I think of the movie Seven. Remember that scene in Seven where the man is force-fed? Oh, it's really bad. But yeah, what an odd detail to a murder, and it makes it even worse that we don't know who killed her, so we don't even have anyone to question as to why she had her stomach full of potatoes. It's very, very strange, and my heart goes out to the friends and family of Donna Doll. She was taken so young, and I'm sure it's been very difficult for them to not know who killed her. Now, you know I am not going to make boiled potatoes, but we are going to cook potatoes. This is Dining with Death. This is what we do. I am going to make for you the incredibly viral 15-hour potato recipe. When I say this recipe went viral, it took over TikTok for like a month. I think Poppy Cooks is the one who made it famous. I could be wrong on that, but I definitely want to give her credit because I love her account. But it is a 15-hour potato dish. It literally takes 15 hours to make. I'm gonna make it with you now. I'm kind of excited about this because I've always wanted to try these. They look so good. Stay with me as we go dining with death. All right, we are ready to cook. This recipe started yesterday because, like I said, these are 15-hour potatoes. So first we're going to do our prep work. We're going to start with 5 Yukon Gold potatoes. These are particularly large Yukon Golds. Maybe they'll turn out to be too big, we'll see, but they're nice big potatoes. Obviously, you're going to peel those and get them nice and clean. Do not put them in ice water. We want that starch to hold everything together. Once they are peeled, you are going to get out your mandolin. Now, if you don't have a mandolin, don't want to invest in one, always use the guard. They make these smaller handheld mandolins now, and they're only about $7 on Amazon. So if you don't have space for a mandolin or don't want to spend the money on a mandolin, this is a really good option, but just always use the guard. So you're going to slice those potatoes. I only do a couple of slices, and then you know me, I am putting the guard on because I've cut myself on one of these, and you don't want to do that. They've got to be paper thin. You can see through them. This does require a mandolin. You won't be able to chop them that thin. Slice all of the potatoes up really nicely, setting them aside as you're finished with them one by one. And I would rather throw that piece away than cut my finger, so get rid of it. Arrange those in a bowl and pile them on top of each other as you go. Again, you don't want to rinse these because you want that starch to hold everything together. You're going to melt a stick of butter in a small saucepan. We need clarified butter for that. That means as the butter starts to boil, you're going to skim off the milk solids, leaving just a little bit of clarified butter. It will be mostly see-through. You can't ever get all of the solids out unless you're making ghee, but we're not going to go to that extent today. So there is the clarified butter. You're going to take that and pour it over the sliced potatoes. And then you're going to add a little bit of salt to that. Not much, because we're going to add more salt at the end and we really want to taste the potato. Take a glove or a spoon, whatever you've got, and mix those, making sure every slice is thoroughly coated in the fat. You're going to get a loaf pan and line it with parchment paper.
press it down in, making sure that you press it into the corners really tightly so you get a nice square shape. And then once you've got your pan prepared with the parchment paper, start lining the entire pan with the potatoes. Kind of press them as you go and make sure you get into the corners. A couple of times I even cut some small pieces of the slices and press them down into the corners to make sure that all of the potatoes were even. You know, the corners will get lower if you let them, so kind of be conscientious about that and make sure the corners get just as much. Take a piece of parchment paper and cover that up. I'm going to press mine down a little bit, make sure it's all nice and even, and then preheat your oven to 250 degrees. Pop that in there and you're going to bake it for 3 hours. It is 3 hours later. Here is our potato pan. Remove that parchment paper and you've got a beautiful pan of cooked soft potatoes. Now you're going to take the parchment, put it back on, and press this down, making sure it's nice and square. Then you're going to get some heavy objects. I used 2 cans of tomatoes, and then I also went upstairs and got one of my weights, my heavy 10-pound weights, and I put that on top as well. This is going in the refrigerator overnight for about 12 hours.
It is a day later, and here is my heavy little contraption. Okay, let's take the weight off. Let's take the canned tomatoes off. Oh, they've got a little grease on them. Have to use those up quick. And let's undo this. Oh, there's a little bit of indentation where the cans were. That's okay. Ooh, it's a little bit sticky. Okay, there we go. Let's take this parchment paper off. And we are left with a potato loaf. I'm gonna square it up so that the edges are nice and clean. I keep a tape measure in my kitchen for recipes like these. Our loaf is about 8 inches, so we're gonna go 4 inches to the center. I'm gonna try to make these an inch thick. So 5, 6, 7, 8. I feel like mine are a little deeper. I feel like my potatoes, it said to use 5 potatoes, but I feel like they're a little deeper. I'd prefer them to be a little bit less tall, I guess, more shallow, but we're gonna go with what we have. You can see how compressed the potatoes are. It's like a solid log, but it's not going to be the same as just a piece of solid potato because there's fat in between each of those layers, and that fat's gonna crisp up and cause air to get between those layers, and that's what makes it incredibly crispy. So we're gonna take each one of these little potato cubes and we're gonna fry it in peanut oil. Peanut oil has a really high smoking point, so we'll be able to cook these for as long as we need to get them crispy.
You're going to use peanut oil, like I said, for this. Make sure you fill it up so that the potatoes are at least halfway covered, if not a little more.
Oh my goodness. I cannot wait to taste these. You gotta give it the knife test, right? They are very crunchy, and you can see the layers of potato in there. That's gonna give it a really different texture than if it was just a block of potato. This is Maldon salt. It is sliced instead of pulverized, and it gives things the most beautiful crunchy texture. So of course we're gonna put some of that on top. And let's give one a taste. That's pretty good. It tastes like a really good French fry and a baked potato all at once, if that makes sense. They're really good. They're not hard to make, they're just labor intensive. but they're pretty impressive if you want to show off a little bit your culinary skills. Thank you for joining me today on Dining with Death as we discuss the very sad case of Donna Doll. Please like the video if you liked the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more from me, and of course you can join my Patreon. We have a really big goal there. In the end, we want to raise money to donate to police departments that have cold case DNA in storage that cannot be tested because there's no funds to test it. There are thousands of sexual assault kits sitting in refrigeration that have never been tested. They cost between $500 and $750 each. We want to get those tested because obviously we want to try and solve the case that the DNA is connected to. But there's a second reason, and it's this. It gets that perpetrator's DNA in the system in case they've committed other crimes. It's a big goal, it's a lofty goal, but we're gonna get there. I know we will. Stay safe, my friends, and be kind to each other, and I will see you next time on Dining with Death. Bye.